The bold and the beautiful, Luna's fall. The walls were closing in around Luna Nozawa. What began as whispers in the shadows had exploded into a firestorm of accusations, headlines, and legal threats. Her name, once clean, now trailed scandal like smoke. Her past, once buried, clawed its way to the surface. Lies mixed with fragments of truth until no one, not even Luna herself, could tell what was real anymore. They came for her fast. First the media, then the brands she worked with, then the law. A scandal involving falsified financial records from her early career. A conveniently resurfaced email thread laced with edited timestamps. Accusations of intellectual theft, personal misconduct, even rumors of an affair with a married executive. All of it feeding a narrative crafted with precision. She was painted as a manipulator, a social climber, a con artist wrapped in silk. But Luna wasn't going down without a fight. She hired not one firm, but two. A team of respected white shoe attorneys to handle the public legal defense. And a second, darker team of fixers, operators, and courtroom brawlers. These weren't lawyers who walked into courtrooms with a briefcase and a smile. These were the ones who walked in with gloves off. Their job wasn't just to protect her. It was to turn the tables. The official defense focused on the criminal charges, dismantling every piece of evidence with forensic precision. Documents were cross-verified, signatures analyzed, server logs subpoenaed. Every timeline was dissected. Witnesses who thought they could take the stand and lie found themselves staring into the face of cross-examiners who knew too much. But the second team, the Black Letter Group, they filed a counterattack. Luna sued for defamation. She named names, companies, executives, media outlets, social media influencers who had fueled the blaze for clicks. She demanded damages in the millions. Not just to clear her name, but to send a message. She wasn't prey. She was hunted, yes, but now, she was armed. Meanwhile, Ivy Forrester watched from the sidelines. Lips curled into something between pity and admiration. She approached Luna quietly in the Forrester Creations hallway when no one else was around. Her words were soft, intentional. "This is just the beginning," she whispered. Luna turned, eyes sharp. "You think I don't know that?" "I think you don't know who started it," Ivy replied, voice just above silence. "And I think when you find out it'll be too late." Luna didn't blink, but her blood went cold. Later that night, Luna sat alone in her condo, scrolling through a list of names. People with motive, people from the past, people she'd cut ties with. Every theory she formed fell apart under scrutiny, until Ivy's warning replayed in her mind. "You don't know who started it." The thought rooted itself and refused to die. Steffi Forrester was the first to dismiss the idea of a conspiracy. "You're overreacting," she said during one of their meetings. "You're doing the right thing. Let the lawyers handle it." But there was something in Steffi's tone, curt, closed, too rehearsed. Luna felt the shift. Something was wrong. Someone knew something. And they weren't talking. Then came the break. A document leaked anonymously to Luna's second legal team. Untraceable. An internal memo from a private intelligence firm. It outlined a contract for a smear campaign, signed 3 months before the scandal broke. Code-named Project Mirror. Target, Luna Nozawa. The payment had come through a shell company. But one of the routing paths linked back to an entity recently acquired by Forrester International. Luna confronted Steffi. Steffi swore she had nothing to do with it. Her shock looked real. But then Luna dropped the name on the memo's executive sponsor. Vincent Raynor. Steffi went pale. Vincent Raynor, an old name. A former Forrester International strategist. Fired years ago. Known for crossing lines and cutting deals in the dark. Everyone thought he'd disappeared into obscurity. But apparently, he hadn't disappeared, just shifted roles. And Ivy had kept in contact with him. That was the moment Luna realized the deeper game. Ivy wasn't just watching. She was involved. In the days that followed, Luna shifted tactics. The lawsuit expanded. Now it named Vincent Raynor, his shell companies, and demanded a federal investigation. Her legal teams turned up evidence of surveillance, digital tampering, even payments made to 2 former assistants who had spoken out against Luna in tabloids. The narrative began to shift. The public, always hungry for a villain, now saw the possibility of a deeper truth. That Luna had been framed. Her reputation destroyed by a coordinated effort. A few apologies trickled in. But Luna didn't want apologies. She wanted names. And she wanted blood. At Forrester Creations, the tension was palpable. Ivy kept her distance, but her presence grew louder in silence. She wasn't just a designer anymore. She was moving in the background, aligning herself with board members, whispering in corners. Building power. Steffi tried to keep control, but even she couldn't deny the fractures forming. The Forrester name was under scrutiny now. Dragged into the headlines by Luna's lawsuit and Vincent's resurfaced connections. Investors wanted answers. Rich started asking questions. Brooke raised alarms. But Ivy never blinked. Until Luna cornered her in the design studio one evening, just the two of them. "You wanted me out," Luna said coldly. "But you underestimated me." Ivy turned slowly. "No, I underestimated how fast you'd connect the dots. Vincent was just a tool," Ivy said. "You were rising too fast. Getting too close to the core. People talk. People see things." Luna stepped closer. "So you dragged my name through the mud? You don't belong here," Ivy said flatly. "This world eats the weak. And I thought you were soft. I was wrong." Luna didn't respond. She just turned and walked out. But Ivy's final words chased her down the hall. "This is just phase 1. By now, Luna's lawsuit had triggered congressional interest in corporate smear campaigns. More subpoenas, more exposure. But with every win, the danger increased. Her condo was broken into. Her car tampered with. Her phones tapped. She didn't back down. Instead, she went public. A press conference. Cameras. Lawyers flanking her. Luna took the mic and told the world what had happened. The sabotage. The names. The betrayal. She looked directly into the camera and said, "I survived because I chose to fight. Not just for myself, but for anyone who's ever been targeted and told to stay quiet. I'm not quiet anymore." The world watched. And listened. And Ivy watched, too. From her office at Forrester, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She picked up her phone. Dialed. "It's time," she said. She's ready for what comes next. Because Luna had won the first battle. But Ivy was right. This was only the beginning. The bold and the beautiful. The price of legacy. The truth hit like a sledgehammer. Will Spencer was the father. Katie Logan sat alone in the dim silence of her home. Test results shaking in her hand. A storm already gathering behind her eyes. The child growing inside a young woman's body didn't just represent an unplanned turn in Will's privileged life. It was a fault line that threatened to crack the Spencer empire in two. Katie didn't know whether to scream or sob. She had tried everything to guide Will, to shield him from the toxic legacies of power and manipulation that followed his father. But now, her son, still barely past boyhood, was about to become a father. The weight was crushing. And Bill Spencer, his face carved with shock and fury when he heard, felt something he didn't allow himself to feel often. Consequence. Will had kept it quiet as long as he could. He hadn't wanted to come forward. He hadn't meant for things to go this far. But the moment the pregnancy was confirmed and the name whispered, it was only a matter of time before the truth reached the top floors of Spencer Publications. He wasn't just a teenager in over his head. He was a direct link to the billion-dollar legacy of the Spencer name. And that made the fallout exponential. Katie demanded space. She didn't want Bill interfering. But Bill never played by those rules. He stormed into the house that afternoon, eyes wild, voice tight. "Where is he?" Will stood by the window, face pale but steady. "I'm here. You don't need to shout." Bill's rage was a mask. Beneath it was fear. Not just for the family name. Not just for scandal. But for the way history had folded in on itself. The sins of the father returning through the son. He had lived recklessly, carelessly. He had torn through lives, relationships, headlines. And now, Will was paying for it. The girl was no one the media cared about, yet. A freshman in college. Smart, quiet, from a family outside the celebrity swirl. But that anonymity wouldn't last. Not with Spencer blood involved. "I'll handle it," Will said. His voice cracked, but he stood tall. "I want to do the right thing." Katie's heart broke again. Her son was still so young. But the moment the news reached the inner circle of the Spencer dynasty, the tone shifted. Responsibility was not enough. There was more at stake now: image, stock prices, public perception, legacy. Justin Barber returned to the fold almost overnight, summoned not as a friend but as a strategist. Wyatt and Liam sat in stunned silence as Bill laid it out. This wasn't just a family issue. It was a corporate threat. "This is how they'll come for us," Bill growled. "This is how the Forresters, the press, the board, how every bastard with a grudge will try to fracture us. We cannot give them that weapon." Katie's voice cut through the meeting like a blade. "You're not turning this into a war room." But she was already too late. The Spencer apparatus went to work immediately. Background checks, financial settlements, NDAs, quiet offers. The girl's family resisted at first. They didn't want hush money. They wanted honesty, integrity. But integrity didn't protect reputations. And Bill knew better than anyone. The public didn't want the truth, they wanted blood. The Spencer board began pressuring Bill to handle the situation with discretion. Investors hinted at withdrawing support if the scandal grew. Opposing firms whispered rumors of instability in Spencer leadership. A baby born under scandal could tank deals, could trigger lawsuits, could shift power. So the solution? Control the narrative. Control Will. The adjustments began subtly. Will's classes were quietly rescheduled. His dorm emptied. Security tightened. A media consultant was assigned to coach him on how to present himself in case of a leak. But it didn't stop there. A career plan was drafted for him. Board grooming. Public image transformation. The narrative was reframed. Will wasn't a reckless teen. He was a future leader, brave enough to take responsibility and rise above scandal. But behind closed doors, Will was breaking. He hadn't wanted any of this. He hadn't wanted handlers, or media scripts, or a future mapped out by PR teams. He wanted to be a father. A real one, to be present, not polished. But the more he resisted, the more pressure came down. Katie fought for him. She argued in boardrooms, pleaded with Bill. He's not a brand, she said through gritted teeth. He's your son. But Bill was trapped in the machine he built. He couldn't see another way. We're protecting him, he insisted. We're preparing him for a world that won't give him a second chance if he stumbles. Katie snapped. He hasn't stumbled. He's grown up. And you're teaching him that love and duty don't matter. Only power. Still, the plan marched forward. Will's social media was wiped. Press kits were prepared. Paparazzi were fed decoy stories to keep attention off the girl. A discreet yet luxurious apartment was arranged near Spencer headquarters. Branded as a new chapter for the young heir. Will felt like a prisoner. The girl, Alyssa, began to feel it too. The distance. The manipulation. She tried to hold on. But the weight of the Spencer name, the endless handlers and pressure, became too much. One night, she told Will she needed time. Not away from him, but away from them. And Will realized just how far he'd already lost himself. He confronted Bill. No more meetings. No more scripts. No more handlers. Bill stared at him. You don't get to just walk away. Yes, I do. You did. Your whole life, you chose who you wanted to be. I'm going to do the same. You have no idea what's waiting out there. I know, but I'm going anyway. That night, Will left the apartment. Left the carefully crafted image behind. Moved in with Alyssa. Told the press nothing. And the headlines hit within days. Spencer heir goes rogue. Baby scandal rocks billionaire dynasty. Bill Spencer's son breaks from family strategy. The damage control team panicked. Board members demanded a response. Bill sat in silence as his empire buzzed in crisis. But something shifted in him. Maybe this was his karma. Not the scandal, but the silence. The realization that he'd created a world where his son couldn't breathe without permission. A world where mistakes were liabilities. Where love was a weakness. Bill had built an empire, but at what cost? Katie didn't say I told you so. She just watched him quietly from across the table during one of their now regular, stiff, shared meetings. Her eyes were tired but not cold. Will stopped answering his father's calls for weeks. When he finally did, it wasn't with anger. I'm not ashamed, Dad, he said. And I'm not your pawn. If you want to be part of this child's life, show me the man you used to want me to become. Bill never replied, but the next day he showed up at Will's door. Alone. No driver. No bodyguard. No strategy. Just a man. Just a father. And for the first time in decades, Bill Spencer felt small, and maybe, finally, real. But the cameras were still watching. The board was still circling. The company still whispered. Because in the world of the powerful, weakness wasn't failure. It was blood in the water. And the bold and the beautiful wasn't done with the Spencers yet.